Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar event. I'm Chris Boomsma, CEO of the Council for Agricultural Science and Technology, and it's my privilege to be here for the webinar release of our latest publication. But before I hand it off to the great folks who have been working on this great publication, I want to tell you just a little bit about the Council for Agricultural Science and Technology, or CAST. So CAST was formed in 1972, so over 50 years old, and has since that time been providing credible, unbiased, science-based information about food and agriculture to policymakers, the media, the private sector, and the public. Next slide, please. So facts about CAST, some quick ones here. We are based in the United States, but we are internationally connected and do work with both U.S. and international organizations. We are a 501c3, composed of many members, both individual and at the organization level. We do span all of the agricultural sciences, from animal to food to plants, and we talk about each and every one of them. And very importantly, we are nonpartisan, science-focused, and we offer all of our education products and programs free of charge to all of our audiences. Next slide, please. Here on the screen at this time is our mission and our vision, but I want to focus strictly on the mission at this time. As you can see, we convene and coordinate networks of experts. You're going to be hearing from some of those experts today on precision irrigation. And those folks assemble, interpret, and communicate credible, unbiased, science-based information to a variety of audiences. And they span many different groups. And we're proud to reach some of those groups today. Next slide, please. We are heavily focused on volunteers here at CAST. We have a variety of boards, number of active task forces working on a variety of publications and other education products, and a lot of volunteer scientific experts. They can be authors, reviewers, and other contributors. You can see on the right the breakdown of where our volunteers come from, many from academia, but also from nonprofits, government, and companies. Next slide, please. So how can you get involved? First of all, if you're interested in becoming a member, scan the QR code on the screen at this time. We'd love to have you join us. Otherwise, I'm going to post my contact information here shortly. We'd love to have you suggest topics for our education products, maybe be a contributor, a reviewer. Maybe you can host one of our events, our paper releases, when we do these things in a physical setting. You could be part of our newsletters as a contributor, or maybe help us promote our newsletter to other folks and communicate through our newsletter. You could be focused on, showcased on social media. We'd love for you to join our networking groups, our student programs, or just offer general support to CAST. A lot of information and details can be found out on the CAST website. Next slide, please. As I said, if you want to explore CAST, scan the QR code on your screen at this time. Otherwise, reach out to me. You see my office and mobile phone number on the right side at this time. Feel free to reach out by email. That is the best way you can get in contact with me. And that small QR code in the right bottom of the screen is best for you to reach out to me via LinkedIn. So with that, let's move on to today's webinar release of CAST's latest paper on precision irrigation. For that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Suat Irmak, who is the principal person coordinating this paper, and he is going to lead today's webinar activities, not only the presentation, but we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. So Dr. Irmak, I hand it over to you, sir. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate your time.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Chris. So I'm also very happy to be here today to introduce our precision irrigation management paper. That was a great collaboration between numerous colleagues and friends from different universities. So I am going to introduce or make some introductory comments, and then I'm going to hand it over to one of my colleagues to continue. So the first slide, please, Carlos. Next. Thank you. So these are our colleagues who worked very hard. It was a great team effort, as I mentioned, from different colleagues from different universities and who have expertise on different subject matters. And it was a great working with all of them together. And then I'm so happy that with the CAST's excellent work that we were able to finalize the paper, and we are going to release it today. So thank you. Next. So, irrigation and agriculture, including irrigated and rain-fed and dryland agriculture, have played a tremendous role for thousands of years in human civilizations in terms of providing what I called in one of my papers as 6 pillars or 6 Fs. Those are food, fiber, feed, fuel, finance, and farm stats. So irrigation and agriculture have been tremendously, uh, able to sustain humankind, human civilizations for many, many, many years, including, in many different parts of the world. So, and I think it is really important to highlight some of the data that we have in terms of the population growth impact on providing the food and fiber needs for growing population worldwide. So this slide, which I put together in one of my Refuge Journal articles, highlights that around 5000 BC, the world population was about 5 million people, and then that increased very slowly until about 1000 BC, and at that time it was about 50 million. Now you can question how I got those numbers. These are some of the really, really outstanding research by some of our colleagues, and those papers were published in Science and Nature. So this is really critical point to better understand the impact of irrigation and agriculture with respect to population growth over time. So it had taken the entire human history from beginning until early 1800s to reach 1 billion people on Earth. And then the second billion was achieved in only 130 years from 19 or 1800s in 1930. The third billion people were added in 30 years in 1960. And then 4 billion is astonishingly was added only in 15 years in 1974. And the fifth billion people were added in 13 years in 1987. And today's population is about 7.8, 7.9 billion people. So you can see the human population has increased astonishingly to great levels only in the last 200 plus years. So now this is important to put in a context that, meeting the demand of this population in terms of food, fiber, fuel, um, feed is not an easy task. So that's where, next slide, please. That's where I think the irrigation, importance of irrigation in meeting those demands become critical. Now, this graph also shows that land area equipped for irrigation has increased significantly over the last 40 plus years, 60 plus years. But you can see in the last decade or so, there is a declining trend in that increase. Now, in terms of agricultural land area has increased up to 2000. These are global data sets up to 2000, but then it started to decrease significantly up until today. So this is a concerning trend, of course. Next slide, please. Irrigation is critical for increasing or producing the food, first of all, and then also increasing the yield to keep up with the demand of growing population. This is an important fact that irrigation, irrigated agriculture currently contributes to about 45% of total world food fiber production, only on about 20% of the total cultivated land. So only a small portion of the total land area in the world is irrigated, about 20%, but that area contributes to 45% of total food production. Next slide, please. So it is importance in agriculture is very clear. Now, within the irrigation sector or irrigation discipline, there are certain practices, technologies that we can implement to even further enhance the productivity, especially in light of global climate change, its negative impacts on natural resources, agriculture, natural systems. So within that context, precision irrigation is also, which is advancing for the last, I will say, 10 to 20 years or so, has made some really great advances in terms of precise application of water and nutrients to enhance productivity and production efficiency. Now, precision irrigation technologies are many, and they can be applied to surface irrigation, which is the dominant irrigation method on a global scale. In the United States, pressurized irrigation system is has been advancing significantly. So there are certain technologies that we can implement for either even further enhancing irrigation efficiency and productivity for crop production, for sprinkler irrigation, micro irrigation, and we can look into nozzle selection, nozzle packages to for sprinkler irrigation methods. And then we have variable rate irrigation, variable rate fertigation. They are coupled and they should be coupled in terms of increasing crop productivity. So today's presentation and our paper looks into those different topics and provide some technical, scientific knowledge, data, information, and then we also make some suggestions as to how do we all work together to even further enhance the precision irrigation management to meet the global, national, and global crop productivity and production efficiency. Next slide, please. So there are so many different benefits of utilizing irrigation technologies for precision irrigation management, and they range from climate-based, plant-based, soil-based, and also plant growth-based methods and technologies, and they can be applied individually. For example, we can precisely manage irrigation using only plant-based, or using only soil moisture-based or climate-based data and information, but we can also couple them to have even much better and more effective irrigation management. So again, in the next sections, my colleagues are going to present more detailed information as to different irrigation management technologies, and I'm going to turn this over to my colleague Dana to take over and present those different technologies. Dana?
I believe that actually Jonathan was going to talk about the technologies.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
I'm
Jonathan.
sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Next slide, please. My name is Jonathan, and I'll be presenting a little bit about the paper that has been presented over here. We are going to talk a lot about the irrigation decision support tool. And next slide, please. And some of them are going to be in the paper itself. So majority of the things that are going to be talked about are decision support tools that are coming out from the field. And some of them, here are some examples of them, would be the soil moisture sensors. So we need feedback to be able to really hone into that precision irrigation realm, because it is a decision support tool that should be geared towards what is actually out in the field. Next slide, please. Um, so irrigation technology, there is a lot of that needs to be decided in the field. Some of them would be related to the crop water requirement of the crop, which actually depends on the type of crops, the growth stage of the crop, and I think some of the atmospheric demand. Majority of the work that I know of on many research are actually on the application of that water on the growth stage of the crop. So we know a lot already, at least majority of it, in terms of the atmospheric demand and the crop type. But we are trying to hone in some of those in relation to the growth stage to be able to apply those. So just to give you an example, that a crop that uses more water with full canopy compared when it just emerged. So in terms of trying to to use that water, we would like to be as strategic in terms of getting that water into the field. Weather information, field observations, soil water sensors, and other remote zone sensing tools are used to estimate the crop water use from the small scale to a large scale, and also from the field scale to a regional scale. So there's a lot of things that are moving forward in terms of precision irrigation. And again, majority of our focus and I think in the precision world is that we would like to apply that water when it is needed, and basically just trying to replenish the crop water demand as the crop grows through the season. Next slide, please. So one of the things that is actually out there in the market and in our world is ability to be able to apply water on specific zones, and we call that as the management zone. It could be a group of crops, it could be a group of area wherein it has a different hydraulic and soil texture, or it could be in a way a different condition in the field. And they could be static or dynamic in itself. So management zones basically defines the boundaries wherein prescriptive irrigation application, as particularly when we talk about variable rate irrigation and variable rate agrichemical applications, comes in. And this is one of the reason why this is one of the ways that variable rate irrigation is able to be implemented, is trying to manage those zones. Maybe it is a static, or it could be a dynamic. And software tools are needed to be able to determine and put those prescriptions in the irrigation controller. Here is an example of a grid trapezoids in which six management zones were generated using the USDA ARS pivot software. And again, those are just groups or management zones that are using or demanding for a different amount of water each time the irrigation system goes around. Next, please. As I mentioned before, soil water monitoring is really important, and this is the base. One of the reason why there is also a lot of industry that are involved in this one is because soil water monitoring is critical in management of the crop. Soil water monitoring tries to replace what is being used by the crop. It also gives us an idea of the timing and also the depth of water that is needed for the field. There are a variety of soil moisture sensors that are commercially available. Some of them are really extensive. Some of them are very simple enough. But gone are the days that we go out to the field and try to read them in person. Many of these sensors are able to upload the data or transmit the data in multiple ways. And there are a lot of things that the industry has already been able to bridge the gap between going into the field and trying to get the data for the farmers to be able to make a decision. So accordingly, business models on saltwater sensors and data packages have evolved, and subscription and many of the other services are already available for many of the farmers. And we talk more in depth about this in the paper. So there's a lot more information on the paper that we have. So next slide, please. So the soil water monitoring also involves the plant. Sometimes we try to estimate the need for the water based on the soil, but more importantly, also there is also a need to look at the plant itself. And there are some irrigation scheduling based on plant water status. Some of them would be based on the water stress directly or indirectly, like a pressure chamber and also dendrometers. While many of these plant water stress monitoring devices were really used in specialty woody perennial like almonds, citrus, and grapes and vineyards, uh, there has been a lot more in work also looking at this type of sensors to be used in agronomic crops like row crops like corn, cotton, and other crops that are we typically don't use this type of devices. And seems like many of them are really doing well in terms of those agronomic crops. Next slide, please. So all of this, we try to. There has we also talk in the paper significant progress that has been made both in the public and the research commercial industry, irrigation industry, to develop web-based, smart-based irrigation management software. Sorry, or apps. We call it apps. So if you think of something that you think that can be done in irrigation, we've got an app for that, and some of them has been discussed in the paper. These tools, although there are some sophistication, the data entry requirements, and the ease of use has made the use of these apps very convenient for many farmers, and we just have to go through some of the stability of the software support. Some irrigation apps can streamline irrigation management by allowing them to be able to use them while they are in the field by using a smartphone or other mobile devices. There is also been talk about trying to integrate them with the um, with the uh, with the system itself and prioritize the management. In that way, the farmer could actually prioritize the management and maintenance of the operations and saving them time and fuel. We have seen this time and time again in the farmers' field that now the farmers, before they go out, they at least know where to go and where to find what to find by looking at their apps and trying to see which one are needed their attention more during that day, rather than go through them all through the field and trying to save them time and fuel in that matter. Next slide, please. So evapotranspiration is one of those other things that we try to estimate in order to be able to understand the crop water use. It is basically the water requirement due to the atmospheric demand. If it is warm and sunny and windy, then most likely that evapotranspiration is going to be high, and when it's the other way around, it's going to be low. So accurate estimation of crop water demand is essential in efficient irrigation management, not only relying on the soil water, not only relying on the soil water itself or the soil moisture, but also trying to look at the overall budget of the soil as well as the atmospheric demand. So crop ET can be measured or estimated using instrumentation, and most of this instrumentation are available in many of the research plots or research fields. But there is also a lot of commercial crop production also that are using this one. There are a network of local weather data, and even some of the networks are weather station across the states that are providing necessary data to be able to estimate the crop ET estimate. Either we pull it out using the website or we subscribe for it to be able to get them every day. So there are a lot of options that the farmers could possibly do in support of the um, of having a precise application of that water, particularly when we call on the precision irrigation realm of conversation. So the next, I will call on our next presenter and Dana Porter, who will look more in some of these decision support tools that we have.
Thank you, Jonathan. I really appreciate it. Next slide, please. In the role of computer simulation and data assimilation, according to the USDA Irrigation and Water Management Survey, crop simulation models are the least used scientifically based irrigation scheduling tools among irrigators in the United States. The main barriers to adopting these crop simulation models for precision irrigation scheduling include the absence of evidence or the limited evidence that these models provide a return on investment, and the complexity associated with implementing these tools in real farm situations. Sometimes the data inputs can be kind of complicated. The requirements for data can be kind of extensive on some. Of course, these vary quite a bit. Real-time data acquisition, and real-time data assimilation of the data for crop and soil water management improves the model's predictive power and associated irrigation decisions. And there are some examples in the paper. Next slide, please. In deficit irrigation, also called regulated deficit irrigation, this is practiced a lot by irrigators in water-limited conditions, and we emphasize the managed deficit or regulated deficit because it is going to be strategic. In these cases, we're applying limited irrigation applications less than full evapotranspiration demand, at least in part of the season, but they're generally going to be the strategically timed to maximize return on the investment or return on the water input. And that includes water use efficiency, yield, of course, the water productivity, which is crop response to water, quality of the crop in many cases, and we want to try to accomplish that, optimize that to achieve these desires without excessive loss of crop yield or quality. Next, please. Economics, there is even a question in the chat about that already. Economic considerations are key to any technology adoption. Of course, we look at cost of technology, initial installation, capital inputs, recurring and variable costs. We look at labor and management costs. Sometimes there's a trade-off between maybe manual labor and a higher level management labor, and whether those are available. Benefits, we look at savings of water and energy, maybe wear and tear on the equipment, versus improved yield and or quality. So our adaptation of abandonment of the technology, again, depends on whether it's going to create that desirable and continued return on the investment. Specifically, we looked more in depth at economic advantages of variable rate irrigation technologies. This economic advantage is a little uncertain because we have some limited supporting evidence, mainly due to the complexity of assessing the return on investment for the management, as well as the hardware options required for those potential increase or water savings, or sometimes energy savings, of course, and the variation in the crop, soil, environment, and technology. So VRI is not one size fits all. There are a lot of different considerations that go into that. We want to understand the relationships between soil, water, and crop yield, those very important water production functions. These are key and most challenging to get. Next, please. In the paper, there is an extensive example of an economic analysis of variable rate irrigation technology using partial budgeting. And in this demonstration, it looks at an analysis of a variable rate irrigation technology, looking at net return of the irrigation management, economic costs associated with that higher level management, capital investments, and a sensitivity and profitability analysis, and of course, levels of irrigation control. So that goes into actually quite in depth in this example in the paper. I won't cover it here, but I do encourage you to read the paper and find that analysis. Next, please. Complementary technologies. Complementary technologies include digital agricultural solutions and smart farming systems. They may include various precision agriculture technologies individually or in combination, including precision irrigation. And again, there's individual and combinations of technologies. Smart systems, smart farming systems generally apply the smart sensing, or the higher value sensors and monitoring systems, as well as communication technologies. We may incorporate automated data acquisition, automated data processing, models, and machine learning. And the object, of course, is to increase the economic returns on the production through optimizing farm inputs, processes, and the economic returns. And so a lot of times that's an iterative process, and so machine learning comes into play in those tools. Now, while smart farming could lead to more sustainable agricultural production, there are barriers, included in some places limited internet connectivity. Sometimes those limitations, or other technology limitations of the management to progress and adoption. So some of these can be overcome. Some of them remain challenges for us. Next slide, please. A really great example of complementary technologies and themes to precision or smart irrigation includes the SCADA system, the Irrigation Scheduling, Supervisory Control, and Data Acquisition System, developed by the United States Department of Agricultural Research Service, Conservation and Production Research Laboratory at Bushland, Texas. Some of the co-authors on the paper participated in this work, and there is a diagram in here. It talks about, it's got generally this one is a self-propelled irrigation system. It could be a center pivot or a linear system with automated, of course, the control panel. The prescription maps include an automated data acquisition of soil water data, weather data, canopy temperature data, automated processing to calculate a crop water stress index, which automatically generates a variable rate irrigation prescription. It's really very exciting. And so that network of soil sensors and the weather station, all of that connected to an ag gateway system, and an Internet of Things. So we get this wireless network of sensors feeding the data automated into a processing, into a modeling tool to optimize irrigation in an automatically generated variable rate irrigation prescription. Variable rate irrigation prescriptions tend to be a bottleneck in adoption of VRI, so we're really excited about this development. Next slide, please. I will turn back over to Suat Irmak to finish us up. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dana. So overall, our team was able to address some of the fundamentals, principles about precision irrigation management. So our discipline has made significant contributions and advances in precision irrigation management, including variable rate irrigation and soil moisture monitoring, crop evapotranspiration measurement and modeling, plant physiology, crop stress, plant temperature, and so on. So all those technologies are designed and hopefully will be implemented to essentially improve crop productivity, yield, and production efficiency. And so precision irrigation management overall tries to determine the right amount of water application at the right time in the right place in the field to be able to enhance the efficiency. In some cases, in fact, in many, I would argue in many cases, right amount of water at the right time, at the right place in the field also requires the right irrigation system to be able to apply that amount of water at the right time at the right place. So in general, surface irrigation method may not be applicable in all fields. So in some cases, you may have to have some pressurized irrigation system implemented in the field. So again, our paper is addressing some of the fundamentals and principles, but there are other aspects that I would refer all of you to look at our paper. While we are working as a team, we also identified some great things with precision irrigation management and technologies, but also there are some needs that we need to talk about. For example, precision irrigation technologies are adaptable to sprinkler, as we mentioned earlier, sprinkler, gravity, surface irrigation, micro irrigation systems. But most of the research has been done on pressurized sprinkler or micro irrigation systems. So precision irrigation management for surface irrigation, which I already mentioned which is by far the dominant irrigation method on a global scale, we need to look into precision irrigation management strategies, technologies for surface irrigation management as well. We also have to have well-coordinated efforts to better understand the impediments for adoption of these technologies. And we can spend perhaps another webinar on this very same topic, but adoption has been difficult in certain cases, but we also have excellent examples of large-scale adoption of different technologies in large-scale farmers' fields on a statewide scale. So while it is challenging to get our growers, farmers, implement and agriculture professionals to implement certain technologies, we also have excellent examples of large-scale implementation. So some of the technologies, precision irrigation management, in terms of research and demonstration, for example, extension, outreach efforts, and their effectiveness in different soil types, different regions, different climate conditions, and cropping pattern under different management practices need to be addressed as well. So there is more need for research on that. Next slide, please. So Jonathan talked about management zone delineation and associated algorithm development. We all have done that. However, there are still some challenges in developing the optimum or the best algorithm for management zone delineation in a given field. because this is a function of how spatially variable the field is, the terrain, the slope, cropping system, soil type, precipitation patterns. So all those variables go into developing an effective delineation and algorithms for precision irrigation management. So there's more research need to be done on that. In terms of research, demonstration, and dissemination, we all have to do our part in collaboration with our state, federal agency partners, CAST, and many other nonprofit organizations. We all need to work together, including growers, to research. But we can always research and publish great papers. But if we do not demonstrate that and disseminate to the users who are going to implement those in the field, then our task is not complete. We can do great research science, but we have to do equally. We have to invest equal amount of time and effort to be able to disseminate this data, information, knowledge to the users, so that we can help them to make better informed decisions to enhance production and production efficiency. We also identify some potential challenges with precision irrigation management, as is the case with all other technologies and strategies, has some challenges that we need to continue to address. So next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier in my comments, crop water and nitrogen productivity responses to precision irrigation, including variable rate irrigation, in all cases, I would argue in agricultural field, water and nutrient, we need to consider them together. We cannot just focus on water or nutrient, nitrogen, for example, and then manage them independently. We have to combine them, because water, nutrients in the soil move with water. If there is no water, then nutrients are not gonna be uptaken by the plant for growth and productivity. So we have to bring nutrient component into precision irrigation management. And in my discipline, I have to admit, at least personally, economic implications of what we do in terms of technology, precision irrigation management, precision nitrogen management, different irrigation methods, impact on crop water production functions that Dana mentioned. We need to look into economic implications of that. And in my discipline, I have to admit personally that we have not been involving our economics colleagues to be able to look into those different technologies and what they mean to net return to growers. I think we need to do more of that. Lastly, I have to, and as a person who worked with state and federal agency partners for many years on great projects, we have to partner, all of us, university personnel, producers, growers, farmers, state and federal agency partners, CAST, which is a great organization that contributes significantly to dissemination efforts of different technologies, science-based and research-based information, and also government colleagues and government professionals, policymakers, decision makers. We all have to work together. The challenges that I had mentioned earlier, population growth, climate change, and the increased need for food, fiber production by growing a population, cannot be addressed by one entity. For example, just university, research and extension. We all have to partner together, and I'm very positive that we are going to continue this effort, and I appreciate the CAST's efforts and for providing us this platform to be able to write this paper, present, and hopefully we can also continue partnering to address those real world issues that our societies are facing. So thank you so much.
Are we going to
Seems
jump
like
in and try to answer questions?
yeah, I think so. Yeah. So interested about the research thoughts on economic impacts on money and water savings, and how do say ongoing savings balance the startup cost? Yeah, this is a great question, and I think Dana has in her section has talked a little bit about this one. It's a complex question, that probably would not be able to answer all of them, but we do, just like what Suat has mentioned, there are some examples that we are looking at that have made great strides in trying to make those changes very meaningful. One thing that I could probably mention is the one that is going on in Kansas, wherein they have voluntarily reduced their water use, and based on the economic impact that region has done, they are still making money, almost similar to their neighborhood. So I think there are ways that this could be done, and it's just a matter of how extensive is the money savings that we could possibly get from those system itself.
Well,
If
Jonathan, I'd
I'm
also add, if I may, that some of the tools that you have at Kansas State University with your Kate State irrigation page, with your crop water allocation and your fuel cost analysis, and some of those tools can be really helpful also in looking at, because when you include commodity prices, fuel prices, energy prices, there are some really nice tools. I hate to give you credit, but yes, you do have some really good tools available.
Yeah. So if I may add to Jonathan and Dana's points, you know, I think in my judgment, economic implication or money saving is little easier to quantify than the water saving, because water saving is very controversial topic that is used in many different platforms. We also have to define what we mean with water saving. For example, let's say surface irrigation, and many people argue that it is very inefficient, and that's true. But if you follow where the water goes after you irrigate the field, any given field with surface irrigation, if it deep percolates into the soil profile and then into the groundwater, do you lose that water? Is it wasted? No, it's not, because it's going back to the system. So my point is that's where evapotranspiration, surface runoff, infiltration, deep percolation, all those really difficult variables to quantify come into play. So it's not an easy task to quantify water saving. To me, water saving, the best water saving description is you pump only as much as you need. So that could be, and you leave the remaining water that you don't need to pump in the aquifer, in the surface water, or in the lake, in the river. So that will be the best water saving technology, to pump only as much as you need. And precision irrigation does allow that to happen. So in terms of economics, as I mentioned, we need to bring more economics colleagues, friends into our discipline and look into economic implications of what we do. Crop production, efficiency, precision irrigation, non-precision irrigation, which is, practiced a lot too. So thank you for that question.
And I think one of our co-authors is also willing to talk about economics question. Dr. Adamchuk?
Yeah, Slava, actually, he wrote that. Yeah, Slava, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. It's very good. Actually, there's several related questions in the chat. And the issue on return of investment from such issue as variable rate irrigation comes with three necessary conditions. And one of them would be definitely to have a case where you have different water needs in different parts of the field. Second, you have means to recognize the difference accurately and reliably. And the third, you have means to address that difference through variable rate irrigation system. When we were looking at this economical case in terms of if you start with center pivot, then what you can do, you can optimize scheduling, then you can optimize travel speed of the pivot, then you can optimize the amount of water in different section of the pivot, and every time it's you have some increment in terms of economical revenue based on the diversity of your site. So in order to have benefit of variable rate irrigation, first you need to have benefit of irrigation. So there is a lack of water and so on. Then there are certain parts of the field that actually require less water than other parts of the field because of different ET or different amount of soil water storage capacity and so on. And the way we illustrated how to do that, it's just basically we have water response function that's different in different parts of the field, and based on that, we go into partial budgeting, or in terms of what the revenue from the crop and what the expense related to the water pumping, and we leverage this against cost of investment. Because if you have a simple system, this would be probably the least amount, but if you get full level control, you probably double the cost of the system already, and that could be spread over the area. But what we see, like through sensitivity analysis, that the bigger the site, the more diversified land use, the more diversified crops, the more diversified soil conditions, is the easier to justify going to variable rate technology. Yeah. So we definitely don't want to apply water in non-production parts of the field, like through infrastructure and so on. And in some cases, actually, overuse of water can also have negative environmental impact, negative economical impact. That should be taken into account. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Slava. Thank you. I encourage all of us to take a look at Slava's chapter, which is very comprehensive, excellent chapter on economic implications of different technologies. So thank you. Yeah, I can start on this. So this is a great question, and you be all in our discipline. It might be similar in many other disciplines as well. There are some barriers. There is no doubt about this. You know, I have personally worked on very large scale projects that achieved excellence in terms of adoption. There is first of all, there is a trust, right? I mean, trust is pretty much everything in every discipline. Yeah. So we have to earn the trust of our stakeholders. So once they trust what you do in terms of research science is you are doing this to benefit them and environment, then once you prove that you are doing good quality work, then trust is going to come by itself. And we, many of us in this panel have achieved that, thankfully. Now, trust is one. However, some of the barriers are coming from social science aspect. For example, younger generations are, many of them are following their fathers. And I was a farmer too. I helped my dad and grandfather for farming for many years. They follow their dad, they follow their grandfathers, and then that's how they do things. But this is changing. In looking at the landscape and interacting with many farmers over the years, I'm seeing that this is changing. As the new generation is seeing more remote or telemetry, and then automation, and then controlling center pivot or any irrigation method with your iPhone, then implementation in the production fields is becoming easier. Not easy, but is easier as compared with 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. We still have work to do, but I am very positive that once you develop trust, once you do good quality research and science, and then you prove that you are doing this to meet our land grant mission at the universities to help our stakeholders. This is our primary mission. And then you do your best to deliver that information, data, knowledge, and economic implications. This is what happens if you do this. This is what happens if you do that. Then providing good quality data to help them to enhance their productivity. Then implementation, adoption is going to happen.
I agree, Dr. Irmak. And actually the improved data acquisition and data processing, because I can get a lot of data and then I'm buried in buckets of data. But until I can apply them and use them, and the simplifying or the automation of processing, I think will remove a lot of the barriers there too.
Yeah, great point. And also, I may add that policymakers, decision makers have role to play in that too. As
Yep.
scientists, researchers, educators, we do our best to gather information from our stakeholders about issues. You build that into your research program, do the research, analyze, interpret, and then go back to stakeholders, deliver. But some of the technologies that we suggest to be implemented are expensive. And so that's where NRCS, EPA, and other policymakers and decision makers programs come in to provide incentives to stakeholders to be able to adopt some of those technologies. So some of them are expensive. There's no doubt about that. But that's why we all have to work together.
Yep.
Thank you
And
for
I
the
would
question.
also add, yeah, he mentioned about equipment policy subsidies, and I may also add also there the philosophy of of some of the farmers. We've seen a survey wherein we were trying to push for a technology, and apparently from the perspective of some of the farmers, they are doing already the best that they could.
Yeah,
And so it's hard to fix something when they think that there's nothing wrong with what they're doing.
yeah.
Micro irrigation, we have a lot of it in
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
It's really good for water limited systems. We have a lot under cotton, believe it or not. And it pays off. There's an economy of scale, like with a lot of things. Obviously, if I have a lot of water, the water savings, if I have a high irrigation capacity, it micro irrigation, the initial capital cost is not as advantageous as it would be for a smaller or irregularly shaped field where another tool might be better. But where I'm water limited, the water use efficiency and the water productivity is really addressed with that well managed higher, even if it's a higher cost tool.
Yeah, I agree with everything Dana said. If I may add to this conversation, as a person who designed many drip irrigation, surface and subsurface drip irrigation, and micro irrigation, microjets in my career, as long as let's say under water limited conditions, as Dana mentioned, if you are not limited on water, then there are other factors that come in to decide if micro irrigation or drip irrigation is feasible or economical to implement. But if you decide to implement um, well planned, well designed, and well installed and well managed micro irrigation and drip irrigation systems are going to be very advantageous. I'm not going to say compared to this or compared to that, but for that specific field, for that specific cropping system, soil type, climate conditions, it has significant advantages. You can reduce water pumpage from water withdrawal for irrigation because you apply limited or small amounts, more frequently. Then you don't have to use as much nutrients and other chemicals because you are applying the water right at the crop root zone. So there are significant advantages, but it has to be engineering design has to be nice. I mean, very, very, very perfect. You cannot say, well, this is okay design. You have to have really great design of the system, installation, management. They all go into the success of the system.
Ditto. Yep.
Easier data processing. I'll just throw that right out there as an answer to that one.
And
And
acquisition as well.
economics. Go ahead, Jonathan. Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, data acquisition as well. So
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. As growers always look for, the scientists, researchers, we always deal with data complexity. In fact,
yeah,
we like complexity to figuring things out and solving problems. But when it goes to the farmer's field, you cannot have those complexities because, farmers, growers, producers deal with so many other things in addition to irrigation management. They deal with so many other, their lives are very complicated. They have to make a living from those fields. So if you bring that, hey, you need to, download the data, do this, do that, they are not gonna do that. They are not gonna implement because they are so busy. They are very busy people and they have to make a living from their fields. they don't have time. So ease of the simplicity of the technology, whatever it is, it has to be simple. It has to be durable, so they don't have to replace things every other year. It has to be economical. It has to be interpreted in a very easy way. They need to understand what this system is doing or technology is doing and what is not doing. So that's where our job comes in. We need to train, educate, work together to. But also cost. It is a big deal, of course. They have to buy seeds and cultivate soil and spray, cultivate, and harvest, and their expenses are so much that they cannot afford to have very expensive system to be installed in their field. So that's why this economic implication, I come back to that, it is very important. And incentives by government, it can play a significant role. And we know great examples. Some of our projects, tools, technologies were implemented into NRCS incentive programs nationally. So we know that those incentive programs can make a big difference, positive difference in growers' lives and practices.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, good question. Another good question from our friend colleague. You know, yeah, I have done simulation modeling, hydrologic modeling myself. Dana has done, Jonathan has done, and other colleagues in the paper. We all have done that. But I'm not going to speak on behalf of my friends and colleagues on the paper. But my personal opinion is this: anytime you try to implement the technology in the field, in a production field, in a grower's field, you must, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, you must get some feedback from the real field.
Yeah.
Either you get plant information or soil moisture information or what have you. You have to have some feedback from the field itself. If you are able to achieve that, accomplish that with crop simulation model or hydrologic model, great. But modeling itself is not going to be very effective to represent real field conditions. Plus, as a farmer myself for many years, farmers depend on their fields to make a living. So as scientists, researchers, we can run the model, we can model output may not be great. That's okay. We go back and then recalibrate, reparameterize, and then we revalidate model and do that. Farmers cannot afford that. Once the model is wrong and then they implement it in their field, they lose the whole year of data and then the income. Well, they have families, they have kids, we cannot act or function as we do in the scientific field at university. We have to think about the real world implication of models too. So that's why I think the real time feedback or any feedback from the field itself to make a decision is preferable to many farmers than implementing crop models or hydrologic models. And that is true in the surveys that we do. Only 1%, maybe less than 1% of growers in the United States implement some kind of modeling approach to manage their fields.
We also had a question from Keith Tinsey. It's a longer question. So, assuming a center pivot system, could you speak to the relative rate of economic return for different levels of precision, i.e. simple pie-shaped zones with manual volume management, all the way to complete packages with complex zones, controls, and instrumentation per the USDA model developed at Texas? Are there ways for producers to take steps into the precision technology instead of going all in, and what pays back quicker? So he hopes that makes sense. And I did a quick attempt at answering it. A lot of growers enter gradually. So if you have a center pivot irrigation system with speed control, with your controller, you have the ability to do variable rate irrigation at some simple level. And so a lot of people will step in gradually that way.
Yeah.
And I
would
yield
also,
to my colleagues on that one too.
I would also add that also depending on the management zones that they have, if they have a very simple issue on the field wherein they've got a specific management zone that they have to implement those variable rate irrigation, then that is easier compared when you've got a more complex situation.
And thank you. I agree with both of you. If I may add
Yeah.
another point, variable rate irrigation and variable rate fertigation is not for every field.
Right.
Yep.
There must be certain level of spatial attributes in the field
Yep.
to justify to implement variable rate irrigation or fertigation. So if you have a really nice uniform field with pretty uniform soil type, terrain,
Yep.
you don't need variable rate irrigation. You don't.
Yeah.
So my point is we have to quantify the spatial variability first to see if that justifies to vary irrigation and nutrient application in the field.
Well, that was an excellent presentation, and thank you for going through all those questions. We have, however, reached a little bit into the next hour, gone a little bit long, but that's okay. There was a great list of questions, and you guys did a great job answering them. Folks, we're going to wrap up today's webinar, but before I do so, I want to thank you, Dr. Irmak, Dr. Porter, Dr. Aguilar. Thank you for being on today's webinar. Thank you to all the authors, all the contributors to this CAST publication.
Yeah.
It's an excellent work, and we intend now to obviously put it out in other ways too. Hopefully, at some point, having a physical event where we can release this paper and bring it to other individuals. We'll see what happens with the federal government shutdown and the like.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, look in the comments section, folks. You can see where you can go to download this paper. You'll find an interpretive summary, the full-length paper. Check out the webpage. I'm sure you'll find some other follow-on resources shortly. So with that,
Chris,
folks,
can I add one?
please,
So
please.
on behalf of our team, I really express my sincere appreciation to your leadership at CAST and all the staff members and great colleagues whom we work with, including Carlos and Kaylee and Jennifer and others. So thank you so much for providing this opportunity to put this paper together and disseminate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Irmak. Thank you to each of you. We look forward to working with you on this further and broadening the reach of
Sounds
this great
good.
work that you did.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.